We are getting connected. Good morning. This is going to be a virtual PBX dash admin training. Just getting set up here and waiting for people to show up. Looks like my audio does appear to be working, so that's good. And you should be seeing the login page. All right, and let me get my system going here. All right, so you can go to the login page directly by entering in your address bar dash.virtualpbx.com. Most people end up going through the virtualpbx.com website, mousing over support, and then you can click on the login from there. I do recommend for most people to just bookmark the page, so that way in the future they can just go right from their bookmarks. To log in, you will need your email address, password, which should have been sent to you, and then your account name, which is typically your company name. Now, if for some reason you didn't get the email or you can't find the email with your password, if you click on the Forgot My Info link in the bottom right there, again, we will need your email address no matter what. And then the next two fields, we need one of the two. So either the account name or a phone number on the account, right? So one of your company phone numbers. And then you click on Reset Password. The system will send you an email to that address with a link to then change your password. You'll log in, change that password, and then the system, once you click on something else, the system will log you back out and make you log in with your new password. Just be aware that your username and password and the account name are all case sensitive, and especially for the account name, you do need to be sure of if you have like the period after incorporated, or if you have, LLC or what have you as part of the company name. That all needs to be included. For most people, I do recommend clicking on the Remember Me checkbox, so that way you don't have to remember yet another password. But let's go ahead and get logged in. All right. Now, this is an established account, so that's why I'm taking to this page initially. When you first log in, however, it's going to take you to this kind of page where you will see your account information. And on your user page, for instance, you could change your password or your email address. As an admin, you also have this account level setting here, and that's the thing that's changed most is your time zone. Again, you can add your technical contact. Now, on a live account, you would have another section, and that will have your billing information. So you could add your billing contact info. You can update your credit card, see your plan, etc. Also, as that first login, you'll have a wizard pop up, right, giving you little pop-up instructions and highlighting what certain things are. But then when you're done, up here at the top right, go ahead and click on the close button, and then you're back here on the dashboard page. So at the top here, you can always click on your name to get back to that account settings page. Over here, you got the little question mark icon, and you can get this chat with us. This will open up a chat window to talk to our support team, so they can walk you through a setting that you're going through. To learn more, that will take you to our support pages, so you can just look up a guide that you want to work with. The online store, this takes you to store.virtualpbx.com. This is so you can buy, say, a VoIP phone or the VirtualPBX desktop soft phone app. as well as routers and headsets. And then up here, we've got the web phone. Now, this will only show up once you have a web phone on your user, but this will take you to webphone.virtualpbx.net, and it allows you to use Chrome and Firefox to make and receive calls. So it's a kind of soft phone. We're here, we got the hamburger icon or the 3 horizontal lines. All right, so we're on the dashboard. Oops. And then these other features are typically admin features. AZD queues can be accessible by users who are a part of the queues. And then the user portal is something every staff member can get to. They have their own. And then you've got the logout icon over here. Now on our left, these are the core features of Dash. So we'll be going through all of those. And then here we've got your total users on this account. So I have 27. If you have more users, that can, depending on your plan, adding more users can increase your bill. Likewise, decreasing users can lower your bill. But you'd want to double check your plan before going too wild either way. Total devices, 49. And then we have a breakdown of each type of device. Excuse me. All right, cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. Web phone, just talked about. Got 15, it looks like. 18. Soft phone, so software application that makes use of your internet connection to make and receive calls. All right, it can be on a computer, it can be on a desktop or laptop computer, a tablet or smartphone. SIP phone, this one right here, that is a physical VoIP phone, right? So this typically sits on your desk, for example, or is near your router, so that way you can have cordless handsets. Landline, again, pretty self-explanatory. Oh, one thing about SIP phone, so there are different types of VoIP phones on the market, right? So voice over stands for Voice over Internet Protocol. SIP is actually I think it's the Session Interface Protocol. I always have trouble remembering what that one stands for. But there are other kinds of VoIP phones on the market. So if you're out shopping for a VoIP phone, you want to make sure that it says it's SIP compliant or SIP compatible. And that way it has a good chance of working with us. Down here, I've got unregistered devices, got 14 of them. So Dash can detect when a VoIP phone is connected to it or not, right? So when it's not connected, it's saying I have 14 of them that we can't send calls to or get calls from. Now that can be anything from it's simply not plugged in to you have a new router and now your phone isn't registering with us. So it could be a router setting. Right. Total numbers on the account, 43. Generally speaking, plans include between 1 and 15 phone numbers as part of their monthly plan price. If you go over that allotment, then you'll be charged anywhere from $1.99 a month per phone number up to $4.99 a month per phone number, not including international numbers. Then we have a breakdown here of assigned and spare numbers. So an assigned number is a number that's in use, right? It goes someplace, right? So it can go to one of your salespeople. It could go to your billing ring group. It could be one of your main numbers. It could be your conference number, right? It's somehow someone can dial it and get to something, right? Either a person, a department, or a voicemail box. A spare number on your account doesn't go anywhere, right? It's currently not being used. It still would count towards your allotment of phone numbers, so that's something to bear in mind. And the reasons you would keep spare numbers on the account, that could be you use them for a special promotion, and when the promotion's over, you put them in spare so you don't get calls on a number that's you're not actively making use of or promoting, right? It could be you've got a block of sequential numbers, and you just haven't gotten to those last couple numbers of that sequence. And once a number is put in the spare status, you can then delete it if you want to remove it from your account, if you want to save some money. All right, then we got the breakdown here, USDID and US toll-free, right? So toll-free number, 800 number, right? 888 all the way down to 833 currently. USDID, that just means US local number, right? So a number, say in San Jose, California, versus a number in Chicago, Illinois, right? Or, Rochester, New York. If you want to have numbers in different areas, you can do so. If you can have international numbers on your account, if you're interested in those, you're going to want to send an email to porting, P-O-R-T-I-N-G, at virtualpbx.com. They'll need to know the city and country that you're interested in, and they will let you know of any additional requirements and or if numbers are available. At conference bridges, 6. So I've enabled conferencing on 6 of my users. You are able to do that once you've assigned a number to your conference room or your main conference number. Now over here to the right, we have our main numbers. Oops, and it did count that as click. Let me get back. All right, so the main numbers, right? These are your general customer-facing numbers. These people will dial these numbers if they haven't already have an established relationship with you, for example, or they don't have a person's or department's direct number. These numbers are all going to route the same way. Like if they, whatever their initial route is, they're all going to have that same initial route. They're also going to have like the same main greeting, for example. Down below this, we have, oops. There we go. Sorry about that. Down below that, we've got our conference number. You can have multiple conference numbers. This is the number everybody dials, including your staff members, to get to your conference rooms. And then they'll be prompted, to enter the conference room number, etc. Next up, we've got our fax box number. So this enables faxing on the system, and this is the number that receives your faxes. All right. Next up, company directory. This download is a simple text file. It has everyone's names and their extension numbers on your account. Then we've got the soft phone directory download. So this is for use with our desktop soft phone application. You download this file, you upload it to the desktop soft phone app, and you will see all the other staff members who have the soft phone app and their status as it relates to that app. Right, so I could see my coworker Jeff if he's on a call using the soft phone. Right, and for like right now, since I'm doing this training, I've marked myself as not available for calls on my soft phone app, so that way my staff, my coworkers, don't try to call me and say, "Oh, he's not available. Talk to him later." And likewise, it allows you to click to call your colleagues. All right, store discount code. For being a Dash customer, you get a discount on anything in our web store. And then we got the account realm. The account realm is used for a couple things. One is to program a third-party application or phone. It's one of the 3 key pieces of information you need to get those to work with us. And the other reason it's used is for faxing out. So on Dash, to send a fax, it's email to fax. Right, so you create an email after you've assigned a fax box number. In the to field of that email, you put the plus sign, the number 1, then the area code and phone number that you're faxing to, little @ symbol, and then the account realm. And then you attach a PDF or TIFF file and hit send on the email. You don't need to type in the body of the email or even in the title of the email because the system is only going to get the PDF, right, the attachment, and fax that. That's the only thing it's going to fax out. All right, system will only fax out 1 document per email, so there's no point in trying to cram in 5 attachments because the system's only going to send 1 of them. All right, up here we got the caller ID. Now this is for one of your main numbers. Now my streaming software doesn't allow me to show you that I can choose any of them. So it's just going to default to the 702 number here. And then you've got the company caller ID name or CNAME, right? This is, you can input up to 15 characters, including spaces and special characters. And this will then, after you click on Save Changes, will be sent to the other carriers that support CNAME. right? It takes about 3 business days for them to get updated on their various servers. And then when you make an outbound call from your VoIP phone, we transmit this information out. And as long as the call goes along with other carriers who support CNAME, that CNAME information will show up on the person you're calling to, right? Your phone number and then your company name, for example. Now, that means there are carriers out there who do not support CNAME, right? Their business decision, right? Not worth it to them for whatever reasons. So if your call happens to route through them, your CNAME information will not show up. Something to also keep in mind if you're calling cell phones, right? Not every cell phone provider actually queries for CNAME, right? Your cell phone providers control what they're going to display on the phone. So that's not something we can force on them. And some of them, I know like T-Mobile and AT&T, they have paid services that you can sign up for that would then have the CNAME information show up if you so desire. Now, even for the carriers who do support CNAME, something to keep in mind, it's not a high priority for them, right? So if they're having heavier than expected call volume, your CNAME information may not go through. Obviously, if they're having a maintenance or outage, you're probably more concerned about getting the call connected than anything else. Okay. Next up, we got the company emergency information, or E911. Right, this would be the address information associated with this phone number, and would be the information that is sent when someone picks up a VoIP phone on this account and hits 911. That's the address that gets sent to emergency services. And if you have multiple phone numbers, you can decide for each device, each of your VoIP devices, which phone number they're using for their E911. All right, hold music. Okay, hold music on Dash is defined as once a call has connected to a user, and that user presses hold on their VoIP phone. When that happens, you can have this file here play. You can upload your own, assuming I can find my mouse. There we go. Right, and then you would find the file on your computer. Click the little upload icon. Dash will play back .wav, .wav, and .mp3 files. We do recommend that you record in mono, not in stereo, and that you keep the file size under 1 megabyte. A 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes. But once you do that, you click on Save Changes, and that will be the default hold music for your entire staff. Now, hours is actually part of main number, so let's go ahead and just click on main number. There you go. So at the top here, you got your main company numbers. Now, if you choose not to use one, you don't want to use a number as a main number anymore, right? You're like, oh, it's not working for us, or we're not in that area. Let's say, oh, I don't want 2 855 numbers. That's confusing for my customers. I can click Unassign, and now it's no longer a main number. Now it's still on my account, because it's just got moved to spare. And any place where you have the ability to assign a phone number, right? You can choose from your spare number list. So I got that 855 and another 702 number. I can also choose to buy a new number, right? Toll free. I can pick the prefix and hit search, and I can add a number, right? Shows up here in my little cart, gives me the number, option to delete it, and I can buy the number, right? And then local, you need to search by area code. So you need to know the area code that you're interested in. Now keep in mind that some area codes, right, are over 60 years old, right? Those are the original area codes that were developed in like 1947, 1948. Those numbers are likely exhausted, right? So let's see. Now sometimes it's still worth searching just to see, oh yeah, okay, there's still some available in 408, for example, as in San Jose. However, Nothing at 310. That's one of the Los Angeles area codes. So then you would need to look at an overlay, right, or a nearby area code, and then you can add that number by numbers. Now it's just verifying that the number was there, and then boom, now it's one of my main numbers. I can click on the little gear icon here. I can update the caller ID for this number. Right, I've got the E911 information, so I can add the address. Prepend is a VoIP phone feature. You can add text in front of the caller ID that will show up on the VoIP phone's displays, and so it gives your staff a heads up about what the phone number is or what the call might be about. Next up, we've got the office hours strategies. So for new signups, you start off on 24-hour open office. For our migrated customers, our upgrade team would have followed any of your day-night mode settings and matched them here. But under custom office hours, any day of the week that you're open, you put a check mark in front of it, and then you choose your open hours in 24-hour or military time. You also have an option down here. If your whole facility is closed for lunch, then you can also include your lunch hours. Office holidays, put a check mark if you're closed for holidays. And then over here to the right, you can have your add holidays. You have single day, date range, and advanced. Right, each of those creates a new row. So like President's Day here for single day, I give it a name. I select the month and the day. Right, date range is like here for Christmas. Again, I give it a name. I give here's the month, the start day, and then the month and the end day. One thing about date range, you want to avoid a date range that includes New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, because you notice that there is no year indicator here. So the system just puts you in after hours mode basically all year. So for New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, you just want to do a single day for each one of those. And then advanced is like this retreat example here, where I'm just saying, hey, the first Friday in July, we're closed, right? We're company picnic day. Obviously, if you want to get rid of a holiday, you can just click on the little trash can icon, and it will remove it. And then click on Save Changes. There we go. Now I'm going to click on Incoming Call Handling. So, again, for all these main numbers, right, how is my system handling call? Now, I'm on the Open Hours tab here, but we have an After Hours tab as well and a Holidays tab, right? Because those are, right, we have hours set for open and after hours, and we're closed for holidays. So the system needs to know how you're handling calls during those times. Right, so open hours, this first example here, calls come in, they're going to the virtual receptionist. This is a link. And on my left, I have my main menu, right? So this is what people press on their phone to navigate through the phone system. This is on top of any extension numbers they may happen to know. And then on the right, we've got our greetings and some additional settings. Now, if you need to add routes, right, add options, right, you click on Add Route, and you have a pull down here, fortunately, not working here, but you have got the default route as well as 0 through 9 to choose from, and then you tell the system where to go. Right, I'll go up here so you get a full. Right, so you got the smart directory, right? So send them into the company directory so they can type in who they're looking for. You can send it to a specific person, right? To a user. You can send it to one of your call queues, right? ACD queues. You can send it to a specific device, right? So this cell phone, for example, I can send it there. And scrolling down, I can send it to a media file. Basically what this means is that when someone presses this menu option, they get a greeting that plays. Now, once that greeting ends, the call ends by default. And if we scroll down further, groups, again, these are ring groups. These are departments, right? So I can have a group of people potentially answer a call. Advanced call flows, these are actually auto attendants. So a relatively new feature on Dash is the ability to now make use of submenus. And then I can also send it to a voicemail box. Over here on the right, greetings, right? Text to speech, you type in a greeting, you would click update, save down here, and then save changes over here. It's a computerized robotic voice. I usually recommend that for people who are new to PBX systems or like a startup company, that they're not sure exactly how they're going to have everything set yet. So they might have a couple iterations before they settle on what they want. You have your upload your own file. Again, find the file on your computer, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. You can choose from any other recording that you already have on the account. So you've got text-to-speech greetings. You can choose anything that you've uploaded and or recorded over the phone. Speaking of recorded over the phone, you do have the option to record your main greeting over the phone. Now, it's going to ask you to, by default, pick up a phone registered to the account. That means it wants you to use a VoIP phone. You dial your main number, and then you enter this PIN number. Now, this PIN number only works for my open hours and only during my open hours, right? So I can only change it when I'm open by calling in over the phone. And then the system, once I enter the PIN number, the system will walk me through recording a greeting. Now, if you've just signed up, for example, you just call in, you'll get a message saying there's no menu set up for this. You just enter your PIN number, and it'll walk you through recording it. If you have an established account already, or you already have a greeting file in place, so let's say you have greeting A that is playing, if you call in and enter this PIN number, you will still get walked through recording the greeting over the phone. And when you do so, you're going to overwrite the content of the greeting A file, right? The file name will stay the same. It'll still say greeting A, but you've just replaced the content when you call in over the phone like that. Now, when I said that by default, the system wants you to use a VoIP phone registered to the account, if you don't want to do that, let's say you mostly have cell phone or landlines, if you go down to the settings here at this bottom, allow outside recording, right? If you turn this on, now you're saying, okay, cell phone and landlines can call in, enter this PIN number, and record my greeting. Generally speaking, I recommend keeping that off until such time as you're going to use it, just because you don't want random people trying to guess your PIN number and then changing your main greeting on you. All right, professional recording services. When you click on order here, that will take you to a website hosted by Snap Recordings, who we've partnered with. From there, you can choose anywhere from like about 100 voice actors to choose from, or actresses. You have various versions of English, Spanish, and French you can choose from. So you have a multilingual reading if you're inclined. They also have hold treatment, so a mix of music and a script being read. They handle their own pricing and their own billing, and they deliver via email. They're currently doing a special for the holidays. So if you're interested in that, I would say go ahead and click on that. I think it's a 20% discount. All right. Under settings, you've got number of retries on missed dial. Basically, how many times can an inbound caller input an invalid option? Right. So in this case, I'm saying, hey, they can mess up 2 times. Right. So they keep hitting 7. And then after that second retry, actually, I guess it would be technically the third because they get one initial try and then 2 additional, or one additional attempt, one initial attempt and then 2 retries. But after that 3rd attempt, then the system will send them to this default action. Now, if I don't have a default action, then the call would end. The dialing timeout, this should be an integer. I usually recommend anywhere from 2 to 3, but this is how long the system waits after it hears a button press before it assumes that the person is done, right? So I press 7, the system's going to wait for a second, and then, oh, okay, that's what he meant, and then it's an invalid option, right? Then oh wait, I actually really wanted number 6, right? So I get the greeting playing again. I hit 6, system waits a second, and then it'll send me to that ring group. Allow outside recording, we've already covered, and then allow dialing extensions. If you turn this on, someone knows the extension number they want to reach, they can input it. If you turn this off, then you're saying they can only use these menu options to navigate through your system. Now, in general, I haven't been recommending the default route, and that's because of robodialers, right? So if basically call comes in, they got the robodialer listens to your recording, doesn't do anything, listens to your recording, doesn't do anything, right? After that last attempt, it goes to your default route, which could go to a person. It could go to a voicemail box where, you get that, you might get like just traffic noise or wind noise. Sometimes you get a song or a joke, or sometimes it's a political, ad, what have you. But when you remove that default route, then actual people who are calling, right, they're going to press a menu option or an extension number if you allow it, right, because they're going to want to speak to somebody. The robodialers don't have anything to do, and then the call will end. So it reduces the impact of robodialers on you. Any changes you make, you click Save, and then Save Changes here. And then we'll go back. Now, the second option here, call comes in. I'm offering it to Bob. If Bob isn't able to pick up, I'm sending it to that same virtual receptionist. So the main point of this option is you're giving a staff member or multiple staff members a chance to answer the call first. If they're not able to, then the caller gets sent to the virtual receptionist where they can hit a menu option or an extension number. Right? So you can choose from any specific user you want. You can send it to a call queue, which you typically can have multiple users. You can send it to a specific device. You can also send it to a media file, which I don't generally recommend because then you have basically 2 media files playing back to back, which could confuse your customers. And then you can also send it to a ring group, right? Any one of my ring groups. But again, it's so a staff member or members have a chance to answer the call first is the point of that second option. Third option here, call being offered to Bob, and it's going to Bob's voicemail box if he doesn't pick up, right? So again, staff member can pick up, has a chance, and then you can send it to a group, you can send it to a queue, etc. You can send it to a media file or device as well. But basically, someone can pick up. If they're not able to, it goes to voicemail. This has one additional option all the way down here at the bottom, which is skip to voicemail. This particular option, right, so skip to voicemail, goes to the voicemail box. I typically see customers use that on the holidays, on their holiday menu. And then this fourth option here is to send it to one of your advanced call flows. In this case, that would be to a different auto attendant. Right, so after hours and holidays, right, they have the same options. Just keep in mind that if you're making use of the virtual receptionist for any of these, right, that the routing options will be different for each time of day, and you can have different greetings for each time of day, right, to let people know, hey, this is our after hours. Any changes, you would just click on Save Changes. Next up, we've got the main conference number. You can add from spare, you can buy numbers, so you can have multiple conference numbers. You can add a custom text-to-speech greeting, and just click Enable, and then you type away, and then click Save. Even without that, the system will prompt the inbound caller to enter the conference room number and then the PIN number. Main fax box number, again, you would add a number or either from spare or buy a new one. Now, on your accounts, when you click Edit Fax Box, you will get a pop-up with 2 fields that you can enter. On this account, it's broken. But the 2 fields, the first field is for inbound notification, right? So when a fax comes in, who's getting the fax? Basically, they get an email saying, hey, you have a fax, and here's a PDF, right? They can then open it and view the fax. The second field is for your outbound permissions. Again, you can put an email address if you want only a specific person or specific email address to be able to fax out. Or if you own your own company's email domain, right? So at abccleaners.com, you can put that in that second field. That way, any one of your staff members who has an email address, they can fax out, even if they're not a member or a user on Dash. Right? They just have that correct format. Right. Auto attendance. So you can have multiple auto attendants on an account. Now, there's two primary reasons to make use of auto attendance. The first is because you have several businesses, and you want those businesses to have their own phone numbers and their own greetings. Right? So you can do that with multiple auto attendants. They can also then have their own routing, right? Because which we'll be getting into. And then the other reason would be to make use of submenus, right? Because you need, like off of the main number, right? The virtual receptionist, you could set menu option 3 to go to one of these attendants, and then these attendants have their own greetings and then their own menu options. Right, so a classic example of submenuing, if you're not understanding what I mean by that, say for instance, when a call comes in, you want a greeting to play, press 1 for English, press 2 for Spanish. Right, so 1 and 2 are submenus off of your main menu. Right, so when someone presses 1, they go to your English menu. Now you have a greeting play in English with their English options, right, and they press those options to navigate. If they press 2, they go to a separate attendant, which has a Spanish greeting with their options in Spanish, and to go to your Spanish-speaking staff members. All right, so adding an attendant, you click up here at the top, you give it a name and an extension number, right? And this, you can actually, your staff members could transfer calls to these extension numbers of the attendants, right? So, oh, you got the wrong business here. Let me send you to these guys. Once you've created an attendant, you can click on their name. Actually, here, let's go to test. Right, and so you have the option here. Right now, it's by default, they're unavailable in the main menu, meaning they're not available as a submenu. Right, if you go back up to Niner Nation here, I've enabled that. So that means I can make this a submenu on any of my other attendants. Phone numbers, right? Each of them can have their own phone numbers. You can have multiple phone numbers. You got the little gear icon also, so you can set up the caller ID, etc. Extensions, they can have multiple extensions if you want. You can also unassign. And then you've got the little wrench icon here for the settings. And now you see I have my open, after hours, and holidays. So these attendants all follow the same open hours, after hours, and holidays that you have set up under the main number, right, under that incoming call handling. And then, unfortunately, right now anyway, you only have the option to send attendants to a virtual receptionist. But again, you've got the same, you can set up your own menu options here, and you can set your own greetings, as well as have these individual settings here. All right, devices. This shows all the devices on the account. Green means it's connected or it's registered, i.e. we can send a call to it. Red means it's unregistered, so we can't send a call to it. And then black means you've disabled it, right? You've turned it off. If you want to add a device, you click up here at the top. First up, we got SIP phone, right? So this is that physical VoIP phone. You can choose from one of these manufacturers. We'll take Cisco, for example. Then you find the model number of the phone you're working with. And then you give it a name, and it can be anything you want, right? You can name it the purple phone if you really wanted to, right? And then the MAC address. This is unique to each phone. Typically, it's a sticker on the back of the phone, although you can, generally speaking, on the phone, when I have it plugged in, you click menu and status, and one of the status options is the MAC address. You would click on create device, and then you would assign it to one of your users. Now, within Dash, you're done, right? You don't have to do anything within Dash anymore. However, on the phone, you need to access that phone's web UI. So under that menu status or menu settings, you'd be looking for the IP address. You would enter that IP address in your web browser. You log into the phone, and then you would enter in a URL. Basically tell the phone, hey, go here. It goes there. It gets this configuration file. It will reboot a couple of times. and then the phone should show up as a green device on your account here. For specifics on the URL and where to go within your phone, go to the Dash support pages. On the right-hand side, under VoIP phones, you're looking for auto provisioning phones. If you click on that guide, there'll be screenshots and basically where to go and that URL that you need to enter. Let's go. Cell phone and landline, they're basically the same, so I'm just going to cover it once. You click on it, you give it a name. You put +1 area code and phone number, right? So the contact number for that device, and then you assign it to a person. You click on Create Device. And so by default, right, this is a cell phone. If you go to Advanced, this is what it looks like by default. So when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or landline, right, the phone will ring. You'll pick up. You'll hear a message saying, "This is a forwarded call. Please press 1." Right? When you're pressing 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there, and yes, you're ready to take this call, right? And it will connect you. For our migrated vConsole customers, this is like pressing pound on vConsole to accept the call. Instead, now you're pressing 1. Another, I guess, key difference for our vConsole customers, you can't transfer a call once it comes to a cell phone or a landline, right? Once it comes there, that's it. Now, there are some instances where you set up a cell phone or a landline, but you don't want the person picking up to press 1. For instance, let's say you're sending calls to an automated answering service for after hours, right? That automated answering service can't press 1. So in that instance, on the advanced settings of a cell phone, you click here, allow use of cell phone to voicemail. So now when we send a call to that device, we hear that pickup tone, we connect the call. We're not waiting for any additional button press. Now, if this was your actual cell phone, then when your cell phone voicemail picks up, the call gets sent to your voicemail on your cell phone. Some people like that. Some people don't want that at all. So something to bear in mind. And then the second setting here, keep original caller ID. So let's say customer Mary is calling into your system. She gets to your extension. It's ringing on your cell phone. You see on your cell phone's display, right, the caller ID will be Mary's phone number. Like you don't recognize that number. You're like, I've been getting robocalls all day. Now I'm not answering this call. Goes to voicemail. Right now, if you uncheck this, right, customer Mary calls in, gets to your extensions, ringing on your cell phone. Instead, you see your main company number show up. Right, so it's a way to let you know, oh, this is a business call. Let me answer. And you click on Save Changes. Now, that main company number that shows up, if you go back to the dashboard page real quick here, what I'm referring to is this number here on the caller ID. This is the number that would show up on that inbound caller ID. All right, soft phone. So you get a little warning message basically saying, hey, because of wireless VoIP technology, you may not actually be at the address that's associated with this phone number, so please be aware of that. Go ahead and click on Close. And now it defaults to making use of a third-party application, right? So you're using a soft phone application from, say, Counterpath. Right? They have several different applications. Or you're using the VoIP, I believe is a soft phone app out there, etc. So you would give it a device name. You would use the SIP username here. You click on the SIP password box to see the SIP password, and then the account realm to program that application to work with us. Right? You would also use this if you didn't see your phone show up under that SIP phone list. Right? Like, oh, my phone isn't showing up here. I'll have to do it as a third-party application. Now, if you want to use the VirtualPBX soft phone app, either on your mobile or on the desktop version, what you would want to do is where it says use third-party application in gray, so it's grayed out. You click on that, and it will flip it to say use VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name, you assign it to a person, and then you click create device. What happens then is that person that you assigned it to, they get an email saying, hey, your soft phone has been created. Here's your username. Here's your password. And if they're on mobile, they can just download it right from the appropriate app store. For the desktop users, you have to make sure you've purchased the desktop license, right? So Windows and Mac OS, you need to order the desktop version from the web store. Oops. And then you can get the appropriate versions. Once you purchase it, you'll get a link for the downloads. Lastly, we'll go over a web phone. Again, you get that same wireless warning message. But you give it a name, you assign it to an owner, you click on Create Device. And now that person, they can go to webphone.virtualpbx.net, and they can use their same dash login to log into that site, and they can use Chrome and Firefox to make and receive calls. All right, Greetings Manager. This shows your greetings on the account. You get the name, the source. TTS is text to speech, right? Upload means you uploaded the file. Recording means you recorded over the phone. You can download the file to listen to it, make sure it's still relevant. And if you click on the little wrench icon, you can change the name or delete the greeting. You also have the option up here to add a file, right? Give it a name, find the file on your computer. And then say click on Create Greeting. And .wave.mp3 recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Groups, short for ring groups. These are departments. Right, creating a new group, again at the top. You give it a name, you give it an extension number, and then you click and drag the people you want to be in the group. And then you click on Create Group. So once you've created a group, you can click on the name. You can change the name at any time. And then you've got dialing repeats. This is the number of times an inbound caller can ring through to your group members. Over here to the right of the box, you got little up and down arrows, so you can adjust that. And then you would click on Save Changes. Group members, for the members box. So here along the top, you've got the how much time, right? These are second markers. Up here at the very end, this is the total ring time for the group. So it defaults at 120 seconds, 2 minutes. Now, oops. If you click on Distribute, right, you can then equalize the time among your staff members. If you don't like this order, you're like, nope, I'm going to put Jan up here. You put David in the middle. Click on Distribute, and now I've redistributed it in that order. These are sliders, though, right? So I can do this as well, where, oops, this is referred to as blast ringing within telecom, but basically ringing everybody for the whole time. And if I decide, oh, that's not working, or my staff is complaining, I'm like, all right, I go back to distributing it and going in order. Obviously, if I want to remove someone, I can remove them. And right down here, I can add someone if I need to add additional staff members to the group. Groups can have extensions. And they can have multiple ones if you want. They can also have their own phone numbers and have multiple. I can add for spare by numbers. Little gear icon again for that number. Queues are an advanced version of groups, but there are some key differences. So on groups, right, you can have an extension and a phone number. On queues, you can have one or the other, right, an extension or the queue. Now, both groups and queues can show up as a menu option, right, on any of your auto attendants. So again, there's still multiple ways to get to either. In ring groups, the system doesn't care what kind of phones your group members are using, right? They can be using cell phones, landlines, or VoIP phones. On queues, currently we can only send calls to VoIP devices, right? So if you want to make use of queues, everyone who's in the queue needs to have a soft phone, a web phone, or a SIP phone. And the other advantage queues have is your staff members can log themselves in and out of the queue, whereas in a group, they're either in it or they're not. Right? Right. Group features. Ringback. If you click on and enable this, you can upload a .wav or MP3 file, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. But this will play back as the inbound caller is waiting for a staff member to pick up. Now, the system will not automatically loop this file, so you want to make sure that it's as long as your ring duration. So default is under 20 seconds. Next action, if you enable this, if no one answers the call, right, so your group members weren't able to pick up for whatever reasons, what do you want to do with the call? In this case, I'm sending it to a voicemail box, but you can send it to a user, a device, or even another group. Allow call forward. If you enable this, you're just letting your users make use of call forwarding. Right, so they're not going to be at their normal phone. And then caller ID prepend. Again, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can add additional text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on the phone. Gives your staff members a heads up about what's going on. Numbers takes you to your numbers in use, right? This is so you can see where they're going or who's making use of those phone numbers. Again, you get the little gear icon next to any of the numbers so you can update the caller ID, etc. Spare number shows your numbers you're not using anymore for whatever reasons. If you decide you don't want the numbers because like, oh, I have too many numbers, I'm paying for stuff I'm not using, and I have no intention to use it, you just put a check mark in front of it, and now you have an option to delete the number. It says yes, you deleted it, continue, and now it's no longer on your account, so you won't be billed for it any longer. A port is to move a number from, say, from another carrier to VirtualPBX, right? So say from Verizon to VirtualPBX. This would start the port process, and basically you give it a name and the kind of number you're moving, and you essentially follow the on-screen instructions. It's going to guide you through uploading a recent copy of your bill in a PDF format. It will give you the option to download a blank LOA, a letter of agency. That letter of agency needs to be completed and signed, and then you can then upload it through this process. The system will also give you some caveats about the porting process. The main one being you have to keep accounts active on both sides of the port, right? So your Verizon account has to stay active, and your account with us has to stay active as you're making a port to and from us. And then you can submit those documents. It gets sent to our porting team. And so once you submit, you'll get an email, right? The system will automatically send you an email saying, hey, you submitted your port request. By the next business day, you should get a second email, and this is coming from the porting team directly, saying thank you for submitting your documents. Here are some things to expect about the port process. Right? That second email lets you know, yes, an actual human saw your documents, and their port is actually in process all the way through. Now, if for some reason the upload didn't take, right, it didn't complete, or you didn't get that first email, or the second one even, you can still email our porting team, right, porting@virtualpbx.com, and we just need those documents, right? So the completed and signed LOA and a copy of the bill. Now, on the LOA, it's going to ask for company information, like your company name, your company address. That information should match what your current carrier has on file for you, or for that phone number, because that's one of the key things that they'll ding us if it's incorrect. They'll give you a rejection. And it does need to be signed. Now, that can be a digital signature, that's fine. You just don't type your name twice. This is the main thing to avoid. And then a caveat for if you're porting a mobile number, right, you will need an account PIN number, which you have to get from your carrier in order for that port to complete, actually for us to even submit the port request. And then just bear in mind that once the port completes, your cell phone will stop working. right? Because the cell phone, right, the number associated with your cell phone got moved to your Dash account. So now your cell phone doesn't have a phone number unless you contact your cell phone carrier and get a new number. So just something to bear in mind. Ports, local numbers can take anywhere from a day to 6 weeks, depending on what's going on with the other carrier and if there's any problems with the documentation. Toll-free numbers, typically 3 to 5 business days, again, assuming everything is correct. All right, users. This shows all your users on the account. The little gray icon is just your standard user. Blue suit is a system admin. To add a user, you've put in their name. The email address used for login, that needs to be unique for each user. You create the password for them, and then you can assign the extension number. Now, I started this system with extension 1000, so it's saying, hey, the next one in your series is 1021. But let's say I just added these new auto attendants, so I can make this staff member, extension 2000 or 2001, what have you, because they're a separate company. Right? The system doesn't, you're not locked into with extension 1000 series extensions. All right. By default, the system's going to create a voicemail box for the user. You can include them in the company directory or not. You can always change that later. You can send emails to an alternate address. So for each user, if they get a voicemail in their user, they get an email sent to their the email they use to log in with. That's the default. But if, let's say, you don't want that to happen, then you say, hey, send alternate address. You enter in a different address. So now when this person gets emails, it goes to the secondary address here, the alternate. This also would apply for password recovery, soft phones, emails, etc. And probably the most important one here, send credentials to this user. Now, one thing to keep in mind about this voicemail box that's created with the user at the same time, right? That's intrinsically tied with the user. So, for instance, if the user gets a voicemail and you don't have delete after notification enabled, the user can pick up their VoIP phone, hit *98. That will log them directly into their voicemail box. And if it's the first time they ever do that, the system will prompt them to create a PIN number for their voicemail box, as well as record a voicemail greeting. Right, if you need to add multiple people, create user and add another is there. Once you've created the user, you can click on their name. Not sure why that was so grayed out. It was a little strange. There we go. All right, so you can change their name. Up down here, you can change their credentials, right? Their email address or their password. If for some reason Bob can't remember passwords I create for him, right? We're on completely different wavelengths. I can click the link right down here. This will send them the password reset email, and then they can create their own passwords. Likewise, they could do the forgot my info link and do that themselves. All right, voicemail box PIN, you can change the PIN number. Now again, for your VoIP phone users, you don't have to set one up for them. They can do this themselves by hitting that *98 on their VoIP phones. For your cell phone and landline users, you do need to create a PIN number for them so they can access their voicemail. Again, you got the option here to send to an alternate address, as well as to be in the user directory. Over here on the right, this is a pull down. Unfortunately not showing here, but this is where you can change a user into an admin or an admin back down to a user. This is where you set the time zone for the user. They're different than the account settings. This is the display language, right? So how the website appears. You can have English, French, German, or Russian. And then we've got ringing timeout. This is the number of seconds that the system will reach out to the devices on this user. The default for a new user is 20 seconds. The reason you would go to 45 would be if you have a cell phone user. right? So as far as a phone system is concerned, reaching out to a cell phone takes longer than, say, to a landline. Okay? So a call comes in, goes to this user, and let's say they're using a landline. We send the call out to the landline, right? The landline telecom company knows exactly where that phone is and where that call is going. So this boom sends it right to there, right? Call comes in, goes to a user using a cell phone, right? Then we send the call out to the cell phone carrier. Cell phone carrier has to find the person first, right? Ping signal off towers, finds them and goes, oh, okay, now we send that call, right? It's that delay is why on a PBX system, you would need to have more ring time for a cell phone user than you would for a landline user. And then you've got the extension for the user. If you click on the extension box for a user, you can assign additional extensions to a user. I guess the use case that makes the most sense to me is our head of our sales team. Whenever a sales staff member leaves the company, he immediately takes over their extension, so that way he can make sure that any like voicemails or any incoming calls that were coming into that particular salesperson is not lost, right? So we're not losing potential sales. Phone number. You can add phone numbers to users. They can have multiple phone numbers, and you've got the little gear icon there to set them up. Devices. You can add devices directly to a user, right? You got those same options. I personally find it easier to add the VirtualPBX soft phone and the web phone to a user on the user page versus devices, but it doesn't really matter. And then you've got user features. Right, caller ID number. You can only turn this on if the person has their own phone number. And what you're doing is saying when this person makes an outbound call from their VoIP phone, the caller ID that shows up is this phone number versus your company number. Call forwarding, you have off, on, and failover mode. So failover mode is for VoIP phone users. But basically what you're saying is, so failover mode, the system detects that the VoIP phone lost connection, call comes into the user, it's just automatically going to forward to this phone number. Right, on, I'm just saying, hey, I know the user isn't going to be at their desk, so just send calls to their mobile phone. Now, call forwarding is something that your users can set up themselves. They have access to this via the user portal, and your VoIP phone users can set it up using feature codes. But this device that they're forwarding to should not already be a device on their user, right? This is something they use sporadically. It's not a day-to-day use phone. Hot desking, if you enable this, this is also a VoIP phone feature. This is where you have an office environment where people may be switching desks from day to day or from, week to week, depending on what their schedule is like, right? So Wednesday, I sat at desk number 7. I sit down at that desk with the VoIP phone. I pick up the handset. I hit *11. That turns on hot desking on that phone. The system will prompt me to enter my hot desk ID, right? Usually an extension number, or my extension number, essentially, and then a PIN number if that has been enabled. And then I get a message saying, hey, calls will be forwarded to this device. So now when calls come into my user, they're ringing at that phone that I'm sitting at. At the end of my day, I hit *12. That turns off hot desking, and I go about my day. The next time I come into the office, whether that's Thursday today or it's next Tuesday, right? I go down and I can sit at desk number 1 because that's the open one I see. Do the same thing. I pick up the handset, hit *11, enter my hot desk ID, etc. Calls are coming to me at that desk. Voicemail box will be automatically on because I created it with the user. Each user can also have their own fax box, meaning they can receive their own faxes. You turn it on, and then you select either a spare number, you can buy a new number, or you can add an extension. You just choose an extension number, right? The system you can search to make sure you're not repeating, and then you click on select extension. I don't normally recommend this just because relying on the person who's sending you a fax to basically call your main number, hit the hear the greeting, hit the extension number that they're faxing to, then hit send fax to get it to this person. And that's going to vary from fax machine to fax machine, or if they're using an e-fax service, that also might be an issue. So I generally recommend just make use of a phone number to get a fax on a fax box to a user. Conference Bridge. So when you enable it, it's going to by default create your conference room number to match your extension number, right? It lets you know the phone number. And then as an admin, you create the personal PIN number for that user. Click on Save Changes. Now, your users can change that via their user portal. All right, follow me. This is for users with multiple devices. And actually here, when you first enable it, it looks like this, right? Everything is set to do not ring because the system doesn't know which devices you want to make use of. And then you tell it, okay, I want to use these top 2 devices. I have my total ring time up here, right? I can click distribute. I can change the order. I can say, oh wait, I want this other phone in here too. I can click redistribute, right? So just like the group members under ring groups. Right. You can have custom music on hold for each user. Again, .wave, .mp3, recorded mono. Click on the upload icon and then save changes. That will supersede the music on hold we uploaded on the dashboard page. Customized call recording. When you enable it, it looks like this, right? And so you need to decide which types of calls you want to be recorded. Oh, inbound internal, coworker Bob called me, right? Inbound external means the customer called me. Outbound internal means I called Bob, and then outbound external means I called a customer. And then you click on Save Changes. And the recordings are stored at recordings.virtualpbx.com. Do not disturb. If you enable that on a user, you're basically sending all calls to a voicemail on that user. Voicemail boxes. So you can create your own voicemail boxes up here. Add voicemail box. You give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. And then you create a new voicemail box. Once you do that, you're going to want to click on the gear icon and go to Advanced. Now, first up, greeting media. You want to make sure that you have at least a media file selected, right? So it's a voicemail greeting. Now, you can also call in to that voicemail box and record it over the phone, right? And you just need, under the basic settings, the voicemail box number and the PIN number, and then you record it over the phone. The temporary file here, this is for use for, especially on a user voicemail box, for that out of office voicemail message or vacation message, right? So then when you have a temporary file selected, it takes precedence, right? It's going to play until you set it back to none. Once you have this set to none, then your default file will play. All right, the other thing, especially for a manually created voicemail box, you want to add a recipient, right? You just put in an email address, and you can add multiple if you want. You can add additional email addresses to user voicemail boxes. So that would be in addition to the email used to log in with for that user. And then we have options. So once you've got a greeting media file in place and a recipient, you can click on Already Set Up. And then we've got some down here that tend to come into play. So by default, for new voicemail boxes, they have delete after notification enabled, right? So when a user, for example, gets a voicemail, right? Call comes in, they didn't pick up, voicemail is left for them, they get an email message and an attachment in that email. So .mp3, they can click on it and listen to the voicemail message. And by default, the system will then delete the message from the account. And that is because voicemail boxes are limited to 100 messages, right? And then once anyone else tries to leave a voicemail, they get the mailbox is full, please try again later message. Now, if you want your staff or your staff prefers to call in over the phone or go in through the user portal, then you would want to at least get rid of delete after notification. You can also uncheck attached messages to email, right? The attached messages to email, that's the MP3 file that's attached, right? But this would definitely force your staff members then to log in either over the phone or through the user portal to check their messages and to delete them. The transcribe option here, that will take your voice messages and transcribe them into text and as part of the email. All right, advanced routing. This is predominantly for our migrated customers. So here I've got direct inward system access, DISA for short. For our vConsole customers, you may have, or you may remember, you could log in to your system over the phone, right? Call your main number that rang to auto attendant, hit the pound key, enter your extension number, pound, your phone password, pound, and then you got to your options. And one of those options was to make an outbound call, right? Option 3, if I recall correctly. DISA is in place so you can do that on Dash. So you would click on it, you would enable it, you click Edit Settings, you have a PIN number, and add an extension, click on Save Changes. So now your staff can, from a cell phone or landline, can call in to your main number that goes to virtual receptionist, enter extension, and then they'll be prompted to enter the PIN number, and then they'll hear dial tone again. And then they enter 1 area code and phone number, and they dial out to the customer. Now, the customer, when they see the call show up on their phone, the caller ID, right, is the VirtualPBX company number, right? It's not your staff member's cell phone number. And that's the main advantage of DISA. Also, for our migrated customers, you would also see here entries for either auto route rules that went to like cell phone or to users or voicemail boxes, as well as select route. Call logs. This shows your call activity on the account. Green arrow to the right means that's an inbound call that came into the system. And on a live account, you would actually see these calls being offered to, say, users and their specific devices. Now, the little fire hydrant icon here allows you to report a call. This will create an email with the technical details of the call. I would suggest in the body of that email, type in your experience, right? Or what you didn't experience. Like, this said this call came into me, but my phone didn't ring. Or, what have you. Or there was lots of, like I had bad audio quality, etc. So here you can see, hey, I was offered calls to this cell phone number. You can download these files as a .csv, and then under custom, you can set up a custom date range. Feature codes, I've mentioned a couple of these. These are all the feature codes on the account. You can also find these on the website under the support pages. Just an interesting one I thought was this one here, *87. So if you're sitting in an office and your coworker Bob got up for whatever reasons, and then his phone starts ringing, and there's a big call coming in, you can hit *87 and Bob's extension number, and you're picking up that call. All right, so we've been on the dashboard, so let's go over to ACD queues. So ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution, so call center feature. This is a beefier or a more I guess slightly different options than ring groups, right? So you can always click on add new queues. I'm just going to click on the gear icon here to get to those settings. So you give a queue a name, and then the queue can have either an extension number or a phone number, right? It can still show up as a menu option. But then the routing strategy, unfortunately, I can't show, this doesn't show them all, but there's 5 to choose from here. This is by the way, this is a standard ACD queue, which is $15 to $30 per month, depending on the plan. So most idle, the one that's showing up here, that means whoever's been waiting, whichever your staff members has been waiting for a call the longest, gets the next call that comes in. You have ring all, right? Ring everybody. Round robin, which will equalize among your staff members over time. Then you've got least offers. So let's say Bob and Mary have been in the queue. Bob's been offered 20 calls. Mary's been offered 5. Next call that comes in under least offered goes to Mary, right? And then least calls means least amount of connected calls. So let's say in that scenario, Bob's been offered 20 calls, but he's only spoken to 2 people. Mary's been offered 5 calls, but she's spoken to all 5. The next call that comes in goes to Bob. All right, then we got hold treatment. You can't actually see the word hold because it's kind of cut off there. But you can upload your own file, right? .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono. Now, there's also ACD Queues Pro, which are $99 per month. You have greater hold treatment options. So you can have music file play, but you can also include things like announce the person's position, right? Announce their expected wait time. You can have multiple media files play. You can also set up an option where a person can get out of the queue to leave a voicemail, for example, right? You can set up basically pressing 0, go to voicemail, or you can send them somewhere else to another user or what have you. Queue timeout, this is how much time a particular caller can wait on hold within a queue, measured in seconds. Queue call limit, you can limit the number of calls that can be in a queue at one time. 0 means there's no limit. Timeout immediately if empty. If this is enabled, what you're saying is if you have no staff members logged into the queue and a call comes into the queue, treat that call as if they hit that 3,600 second time limit. Escalation queue basically means send callers to a second queue if all your staff is busy. And then the escalation call flow after timeout, basically after this 3,600 seconds, send it to this voicemail box. And again, you can send it to a user, you can send it to a specific phone. You can send it to a specific media file as well as the user directory. Agent behavior, right? So agent recovery timer, not normally 300 seconds. This is basically after your staff member has finished a call, how much time does the system wait before it offers them a new queue call, right? Usually this is like 15 to 30 seconds for most people. Force away on rejected or missed. If a staff member misses a call, the system puts them on away mode and they have to manually put themselves back to ready. And then agent connect timeout, because they're only allowed to use VoIP phones, 20 seconds is typically plenty of time to offer a call to an agent. And then you would obviously save any changes if you make any. Now over here, we have the members. So this is who you determine is going to be in queues or is available to be in queues. You click on manage members. On the left, these are all the staff members available. On the right, these are people that have already have put in or have made, they're already available to be in a queue, right? So I can add like Bob if I wanted to, or Duke. And then I would click on add as members. And then likewise, I can remove a member. right? And so that means Peter, who I just moved over, he is no longer available to be in any queue. Now, if I click back on queues, right, if I click on a specific queue, right, I can add agents. Again, this is that list of available people, right? It's not everybody on the company. It's just these are the people I made available. I click and drag them over, and I would click save. And then for managers, they have to be an agent already on the queue, right? And then you can click and drag them over. For your staff members who are in queues, so they would come to the ACD queues page themselves, and then they would click on begin session. Now, I've logged in, right? You can see I'm in this queue here. But I'm still away, right? So then I can mark as ready. And so now I'm ready to take calls that come into this queue. Little phone icon up here. This allows me to select which device I'm going to take calls on. Again, you can only use VoIP phones. When it's time to go to lunch, I can mark myself away. And then at the end of my day, I can end my session. Right? Versus ring groups, if you're in a ring group, you're just in it. You can't mark away. You can't log out of a ring group. Blacklists. This allows you to block incoming calls from specific phone numbers. So if you click Edit Blacklists, you click Add to create a new list, or you can use an existing list. You give it a name. Block Anonymous means if we don't get valid caller ID, the system will block the call. Otherwise, you would click Add and put +1 area code and phone number, and then click on Save, or you keep adding numbers if you have many. You go back to your settings, and then you make sure that list is on this right-hand side under Selected, and then you click Update. So now any phone numbers that are on either of these two lists, when they try to call into my system on any of my company phone numbers, any of my numbers on my users and groups, etc., doesn't matter. If we pick up that caller ID, we're blocking the call. They get busy tone. So they think that we're always busy. Our phones are ringing off the hooks, that they can never get through to hassle my staff members. Right, admins can get to any fax box on the account under the faxes heading. They just choose one, and they can see what's going on both inbound and outbound. The main thing is probably useful is emailed fax logs. You can see here that this person tried to send a fax out. I can click on the little eyeball here, and this will give me greater details. And basically, the main thing is this is not actually a user on my account, or they used the wrong email address to send a fax out. Go monitor, and so the number manager takes you to your numbers. Monitor is actually typically not enabled on accounts. It just allows you to see the status of your staff members. All right, I can see who's available and who's busy. The recording manager, that takes you to the recording where your recordings are stored, and recordings.virtualpbx.com. Reports is in beta. If this is something you're interested in, this is advanced reporting, so much more granular than the call logs. You can actually set up your own reports to be customized to how you want to get information, like who missed calls, who's getting called, that kind of thing. If you're interested in advanced reporting, you're going to want to talk to our account services team, and they can see about, they can let you know pricing, and then get you set up. Everyone has their own user portal, right? So I can only access my own user portal. You start off on voicemails. Now on my voicemail box here, I turned off delete after notification. So I can see I have a new voicemail. It was on this date and this time. It came from here. They called in on this phone number. I see the duration of the message. I can play back the message. I can delete the message. If I click on the box here, I can keep it as new, mark as listened, mark as deleted. Likewise, if I have many, I can sort them in different ways. Call history, right? The system will show inbound and outbound calls that I've made. Faxes would show my faxing history. The contact list, this is your Dash contact list, right? So this is everything within your Dash account. So your users, their extensions, or where they route to in terms of like this is the main holiday. So that would be under the incoming call handling, the holiday menu, right? It's going to Bob, right? This is not something that your staff can add to themselves, right? This is only within your Dash account. And these are the only things that are showing up. So like your salespeople couldn't put their client list in here. All right, the conference tab. So over here on the right, I can control my PIN numbers, right? So this is the one I use for because I'm moderating the conference. I can change the participant PIN number if I so desire. I can have people be muted when they enter or be deafened when they enter, as well as play entry and exit tones. Up here, I can invite other Dash users into my conference. I can lock a conference, mute everybody, unmute everybody. I can end the conference. When you're actually in a conference, you can also mute a specific participant as well as kick a specific participant. And then settings and devices. This is where your users would set up their own call forwarding. Right? They click enable, they put the +1 area code and phone number, and then they have these options that they want, and then they would click save. Or they disable it and hit save. They can also see the status of their devices. Voicemails, as an admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account. So again, we go to this one here. You can see the messages here. You can download them as well, play them back, etc. Lastly, there's webhooks. This allows you to use APIs to link Dash to other software. If you are interested in this, you're going to want to talk to our sales team. There's some additional qualifying info they would need, and they can give you some sample documentation of how to make use of webhooks. You can also go to developer.virtualpbx.com. You can see some of the things we have done with webhooks ourselves, just to give you an idea of what can be done. All right, gonna head back to the dashboard. That's everything I have to cover. I'll hang out for a couple minutes to see if anyone has any questions via chat, and we'll go from there. All right, I'm not seeing any questions come through, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I thank you for your time today, and we'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Thank you very much. Have a great day.